Welcome back to Wembley Stadium. Not long now until kick-off in the Carabao Cup final. The first silverware of the season will be decided. Arsenal against Manchester City, of course. Plenty else going on in football just now. Let's reflect, Ria, first of all, on Friday night. I know you're at the Vitality Stadium for Bournemouth against Manchester United. The Sun on Sunday have a little piece about Red Devils in ref rant, hopping Ahmad. Raging United baffled by Diallo pen denial. They look like they might be making their feelings known to the PGMO. Have they got a point? Because there was a few controversial decisions in that game.
You know what, I think they do have a point. My colleague Mike Keegan as well has reported that they are going to be going to PGMO about this. Look, I think it's about their gripe was the inconsistency, and we have this talk, don't we, quite regularly about the application of the rules changing from one game to the next. This was literally almost very, very similar incidents within the same game, and that's what really sort of boiled Michael Carrick afterwards, and Bruno as well, because there really wasn't that much difference between the Maguire challenge on Evan Ilson and Trofer on Ahmad literally a few moments beforehand. And I think that's what makes us irate, really, when VAR is meant to be this kind of safety net that catches these errors and sort of brings everything, all the decisions in line with one another. That didn't happen. So I could understand why they were angry. As a personal point of view, and we were just talking about this off air, I actually thought all of the penalty calls in that match, all three of them were soft. But there has to be a level of consistency, doesn't there? How can one be a foul and one not? And that was really the sort of crux of what Michael Carrick was complaining about. And I think it resonates with all of us. We just want to understand what is a foul, what isn't a foul, how can it change within the space of one half, let alone from game to game.
Charlie, in the Sunday Mirror, they've picked up on this as well as Manchester United maybe approaching the PGMO. Their headline is about Bruno Fernandez. It's farcical. You can see what they've done there. VAR is not going to go anywhere. We accept that. Is it just the way it is applied that needs to be amended and looked at?
Well, in this country, I mean, look, we've just had the Champions League programme, haven't we, in Europa League? And, with the odd exception, we don't talk about issues with VAR in the Champions League or in international football as much as we do in the Premier League. And look, and the other leagues have got their issues as well. It's just not the Premier League. You see some terrible ones in Serie A and stuff. But if UEFA can get it right most of the time, why can't the Premier League? And I agree with Riyad's point. It's about consistency rather than the fact that I think with this season we've seen a lot of soft penalties. Players are diving, and we always know that players are told to go down, minimal contact. But it's got a bit silly now, But if a penalty's been given and that's the rule, well, that's the rule. But you're seeing as soon as you see a player throw their arms up in the air when they're getting a sort of a slight, knock on their shirt, tug of the shirt, or knock on their ankles, you know they're diving. But now it just seems that that's the way you can win the penalty. You can't blame them for doing that. But I would like to see all those shouts ignored. I was at a championship game yesterday, and obviously there's no VAR, but the game just carried on. Players, for them to hit the ground, they needed to be tackled quite hard. That's not the case in the Premier League.
Mark, Manchester United took the lead twice in that game, and maybe when it was 2-1, they may have thought if someone had said to them it's going to end in a draw, they might have thought 2 points dropped. But considering how the game ended, and what happened yesterday with Chelsea and Liverpool, they might look back on this Friday evening at the Vitality as a massive point one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good weekend for them on the basis of what you said. And, Bournemouth isn't an easy place to go. But I think Bournemouth are on the longest unbeaten record in the Premier League right now. So I think we should give Bournemouth a little bit more respect and say that, they're a team that causes a lot of difficulties for the big teams. So, yes, United conceded 2 leads, but to come away with a point. I mean, obviously they lost at Newcastle prior to that in terms of the last away game. So maybe Michael Carrick's thinking they need to improve their away form a little bit. But the other teams are making it much easier for them in the sense that Liverpool and Chelsea and even Villa are just handing top 4 players on a plate.
Just carrying on with you, Mark, just picking up on Michael Carrick. I know you cover Manchester United week in, week out. Alison Rudd in the Sunday Times has written a piece about Michael Carrick and the current state of Manchester United and the way they play. She says, this was a grown-up performance, as all of them have been. The camaraderie is palpable. Everyone understands their role. She went on to say, United surely need to embrace the idea of solid, gradual growth. Mikel Arteta, we've spoken about him, of course, in the role he's had at Arsenal in the 6 and a bit years he's been there. He was not an overnight success at Arsenal, and if he leads the club to multiple trophies like this season, it will be a vindication of patience and faith in a former player. Because I guess Manchester United want to be careful. If Michael Carrick is the right guy, they don't want to look back and think and be accused of, well, it didn't work with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah.
They have to keep these separate, don't they?
Yeah, the Solskjaer thing's a complete red herring because they're completely different characters, and Michael Carrick is totally different to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I suppose United are working on a plan B because they have to, because I don't think it's going to happen now, but it could go wrong between now and the end of the season. I think that's unlikely. What they want, their ideal scenario is a coach who's won the Premier League or the Champions League and has got great tactical acumen. But there's nobody available like that. There really isn't. Tuchel's not available anymore. Ancelotti's not available. And beyond that, as we spoke about Man City earlier on, who is the next best thing that's available in coaching? Don't see it. So Michael Carrick ticks a lot of boxes for United. He can handle the pressure of the club, which Erik ten Hag and Ruben Amorim couldn't do. And if they went for an Andoni Areola or an Oliver Glasner, for instance, could they handle the Man United pressure? Well, Michael Carrick can, maybe not with those. So I think you're right. I think Alisson's made a very good point that, Michael Carrick has more experience coming into Man United than Mikel Arteta did at Arsenal. And Arsenal have backed Arteta, so maybe he can do that with Carrick. A lot of the dirty work that needed to be done was done by Amorim in terms of getting rid of certain players. So be patient, be calm. They are making progress. I don't think it's the worst idea in the world, but I can understand why United do want to have a plan B. But what that plan B is, and whether it would be acceptable to the fans after Carrick, every time they get a result, I find it difficult to see.
Yes, that was Tony Adams and Sean Gota walking behind us. We'll be speaking to them later on this afternoon on Sky Sports News, by the way. Riyadh, just picking up on what Mark said there, are the candidates for this role being reduced by the day and increasing Carrick's chances of getting this role? Because, as Mark said there, Thomas Tuchel staying on at England. Carlo Ancelotti might have been another contender for that role. Are we then going into the rivals for Carrick and the realistic ones, that the likes of Glasner and Iraola? And if that's the case, should they then stick with Carrick?
Look, I think the fact that we're talking about 2 points dropped from a draw at Bournemouth, who are unbeaten in 11, shows everything about what Carrick has actually done. He has raised the standards, he's raised the expectations, and he's done it in rapid speed as well. I think he's been fantastic since he's gone in there. I'm sure we could all nitpick a couple of little details. They were really good fun to watch on Friday evening, particularly in the first half.
Something that you wouldn't have said in the first half of the season, right?
Absolutely, they were diabolical under Ruben Amorim. The man was given far more time than I felt he deserved. Carrick has come in and given a total facelift to that club. So I think it would be almost perverse for him not to be a serious contender to get that job in the long term. Because again, as Mark's saying there, who are the alternatives? Who is this parade of A-list sort of candidates waiting to step in and take the job? They're not there. So why wouldn't we be talking about Michael Carrick as having a really, really strong claim?
I think he'd be the perfect man for the job if they finish third or fourth. I think United will finish third. I think he's doing
Fifth,
a brilliant
maybe
job.
as well?
Yeah, sorry?
Fifth as well, could get Champions League.
Well, yeah, but I think on current form they'll finish third. He's doing a great job, and let's not forget Steve Holland. He's got a quality coach there, who's been a great coach, not just with clubs, but of course with England. He was a huge part of what England achieved, and of course the big thing about England then was the culture, wasn't it? They've changed the culture under Gareth Southgate, and that's what Manchester United are trying to do under Carrick, and of course Steve Holland. Change the culture. That's half the problem with United, along with some of the poor recruitment. So I think Michael Carrick is the perfect man for the job, or could be, with Steve Holland. Get the recruitment right. Make obviously some changes that need to be done, and I think United are in a good place.
Just very quickly, Mark. Charlie mentioned the recruitment there. How important is it, not only for the short-term future of Manchester United, but the long-term as well, that they do get Champions League football and get that Champions League football at Old Trafford next season?
Yeah, if they get Champions League football, they'll be ahead of progress, because I don't think they expect it to be. They want to be in the Europa League next season. Europe was the bare minimum. They get in the Champions League, it helps with their recruitment. They had a good summer last year, people that they brought in, the goalkeeper, the forwards, so they want 2 midfielders and a left winger, and maybe a backup goalkeeper as well. So if they get what they want, then they can kick on next year and they can challenge again.
Very, very quickly in a word, who's the Manchester United manager next season?
Carrick.
Carrick.
Carrick.